Good morning, Northeastern Connecticut, and welcome to the WINY talk show on this 7th day of November, Thursday. Good morning, everybody, and thank you all for tuning in. Dave Ward here with you through 11 a.m. We have a packed show. We have an interesting first hour, and then coming up in the second hour, we will be joined by Mary Calorio, Killingly Town Manager. But first, a special show here with some special guests. We welcome guests from Pomfret School here this morning. And Representative Pat Boyd, who's also Dean at the school, is joining us to tell us about a special program, a topic that we discuss regularly here on the WINY talk show, discourse in politics, and how do we talk to each other about things, and how do we learn about different political perspectives. So Representative Boyd, Dean Boyd, can you tell us, lay it out for us, introduce our guests that you've brought with us and what the program is all about next week?
Well, good morning, Dave. Appreciate you having us here on the talk show. As you know, Connecticut's a part-time legislature, so we all have other jobs. And for the last 14 years, I've been a teacher and administrator at Pomfret School, right up in the hilltop in Pomfret. Taught American history, and I teach American government political science electives. So we have here some of the students that are in my course right now, some of the best and the brightest at Pomfret School that are taking a course on Introduction to American Government. Alex Gutman, Minty Wilson, Emmy Gingras, and Kyle Tomaso, sorry.
Welcome everybody, and thanks for taking some time out of school to come join us and share what you're doing with the audience. So next week, a special forum. Tell us about it.
Yeah, so the students and the rest of the class have invited a number of guests to campus for us to have an evening forum to really talk about some of the big issues that surround politics and government. And this year's theme is political disagreement, how to make effective policy recognizing that the growing divide of public opinion in the United States. And so we've invited a pretty diverse panel of folks that are identifiable voices in the conservative movement in the state, the moderate caucuses, and the progressive movement to really sit down and talk about how we debate, how we vet issues with the ultimate goal of having to make policy that serves the citizens of the state. So we're pretty happy with the panel that's accepted our invitation, and these folks have done a really good job kind of prepping and working up to it.
So let's talk about how you all came up with this idea. What was the spark that generated the concept of doing this for next week? How did it all come about? Who wants to start out?
Yeah, I think we were just all in class, and Mr. Boyd was talking about an upcoming project, and I think it just all came together as the idea would be that we would do this forum for our final. So we've been working on it for the past couple of weeks, and we've been making progress. And so at first we didn't really know who would be coming, but then we kind of, I guess, reached out to a bunch of different representatives, and we came up with a list of people that we thought would be good to talk at the forum.
So it's interesting what you've named this. This is the first annual Congressman Horace Seeley Brown Jr. Forum on Politics and Public Policy. Who is Congressman Horace Seeley Brown, and why did you select the former congressman to be named here?
So Horace Seeley Brown is a former Pomfret faculty member and hockey coach who went on to serve more than a decade in the United States Congress. So we thought he would be a good person to name the forum after.
And so did you do some research on him, Kyle?
Yeah, we kind of looked for past Pomfret alumni that were involved in politics, and he was one of the many that was.
Excellent. Now, Emmy, let's talk to you a little bit. It's okay, the microphone doesn't bite. We got you. As you've been putting this together, did you have some ideas in your head as to what you would like to see the result of this be?
I think overall, throughout our entire class, one of the main goals was to create civil discourse within this forum, because we wanted to have civil conversations, but also spark some kind of maybe disagreement throughout all the different representatives and politics that we have coming.
Did you find that forums like these are going to be important because people have a hard time talking to each other about politics?
Yes.
How about you? I mean, when you have conversations or you hear others, is it civil, or what is it like?
Yeah, I mean, I think like boarding school culture, it's hard a lot of the time to be constantly aware of things that are happening politically. But I think overall, people get very sensitive on certain subjects, or if you do have conversation, I think it kind of depends on the people you're talking to and the views that they have. I think that everyone is very capable of having civil conversation around this topic, but I do think it's a topic that gets very intense and can get heated at times.
Right, and then people step away from the conversation completely,
Exactly.
and then nobody has any healthy debate. Minty, what about you? What are you hoping that you're going to hear as a result of the conversation?
I'm really interested to hear the different backgrounds of the people we have. We have a variety of people coming, and I'm really interested to see their views on things we bring up and the questions we ask, and to see how they handle those answers and how they answer them for us.
So before I have politicians in here to the show, I try and do a lot of prep on them so that I understand who they are, where they stand on different policies. Have you all done that so that you know what the speakers, what their perspectives are on things?
Yes, so we had done a previous assignment to create biographies over these people, just to get aware on where they stand and who they are, and we'll share those with them and the rest of the community when we come together for the forum.
All right, let's run down exactly who's going to be here on the 12th, and this is free and open to the public,
Correct.
by the way.
Correct.
So if you're interested in hearing this conversation, you know we have these little conversations in pockets on the talk show between 9 and 11. But what a great opportunity to get the discourse part of the discussion into a public forum like this. So run us down, Alex, if you would, on who's coming.
Yeah, so we have 5 different people coming. First, we have Representative Doug Dubitsky. He's a current member of the Conservative Caucus, and he is
State Representative, Connecticut.
State Representative of Connecticut. Then we also have Danny Rivero, former mayor, retired state rep, and a former moderate caucus member. Next, we have Christopher Lipke, first selectman for the town of Canterbury. He's also Pomfret 83. And then we have Matthew Lesser, state senator and a progressive caucus member. And then lastly, Nancy Wyman, current chair of Connecticut Democratic Party and former lieutenant governor.
Yeah.
So it's a pretty politically diverse
That's a pretty,
panel.
yes, absolutely.
And you know, three of the 5 have some connections to the school, being either a parent or a grandparent or an alum, which we're excited about having that Pomfret connection as well. And you know, these guys have kind of established, it's not necessarily a debate of issues, but a discussion about how policy is made,
Right.
and how to get, you know, from these points of disagreement to some end product that has to be settled one way or the other. And you know, as you said, and as they've said often, that you know, with Thanksgiving coming up, kind of the Thanksgiving table discussions of politics, they often end abruptly. And you know, when you're trying to make policy for the state, you and the nation, you need to kind of continue this to some conclusion. So, you know, hopefully there'll be different perspectives that come out on how people with you know, an ideology that may differ from others, you know, come to some type of conclusion when you have to make a law or have to make a policy.
Let me ask all of you, this is something that's common for me in this discussion of finding different sources of information, seeking out different sources of information, because if you're only getting your information from one place or one perspective, you're not hearing everything else. So as all of you have been putting together this forum, how have you been researching the different perspectives that your guests are bringing in? The conservative caucus, the moderate folks, the left, the right. Are you doing some research into that to help put everything together for the 12th?
Well, I think the most important thing for me is finding information from multiple sources, not just one-sided sources, if that answers your question.
Yeah.
But obviously, some sources tend to be more right-leaning or left-leaning, but I think finding that ground between being educated on both sides and then forming an opinion is the most important part.
That is a brilliant answer. That's what
Well,
we'd like to hear.
Also, I think one good thing about the class actually is that Mr. Boyd will sometimes show us, you know, different news shows showing us both sides of an issue, so we kind of get different views, and we can kind of make our own choice on what we believe. So I think that's pretty cool.
Absolutely. I want to talk to all of you about the social media role in the political discourse in our conversation. Let's take a quick commercial break, and we'll do that when we come back. We will be back with more of the WINY Talk Show right after this.